Alrighty. Like I said, this is Neil Coster from HireClicks. Just wanted to thank everyone again for joining. I actually started HireClicks just about 10 years ago. Felt like there was a great opportunity to enter the market as a new recruitment advertising agency and provide a whole different level of service, as well as a focus on marketing with the consumer mindset. And what that means to us is making sure that we help our clients think strategically, but also execute on the tactical side in order to make sure that we're able to measure ROI for all the investments that they make across all the recruitment advertising channels. Today we're doing a partner webinar with our friends over at Indeed. Luke Andrews and Oksana Klein are on the call, and they'll be walking you through Beyond Sponsored Jobs, Building Your Brand on Indeed in 2020. So just to give you a little bit of background, Luke Andrews is the agency channel lead from the Global Product Solutions team at Indeed. He's been with Indeed for nearly 7 years in both the sales and strategy capacity. As a member of the Product Solutions team, Luke works closely with agency partners as well as Indeed's direct sales and product team with the goal of developing, implementing, and refining solutions within Indeed's product portfolio. Oksana Klein is an agency development partner who's dedicated to supporting HireClicks. So basically, if you're one of our clients, Oksana is an extension of our team, but works at Indeed and really focuses on helping make our clients successful. She's collaborated with Indeed's agency partners for a little over 4 years and helps us on executing campaign strategy and optimization of those client campaigns. She's also going to be having a baby soon, so we're lucky she didn't have to fly anywhere to be on this webinar. So thank you both for joining us. And just a minute about the partnership. We work very closely with Indeed. One of the things that we try and do as an agency is make sure that we work with all of our media partners in a way that positions HireClicks and the media partner like Indeed and the client all focused on the problem. We try not to put up barriers between us and between our clients and the media partner. And I think that this example of trying to just do some education and let our customers know what's happening on the Indeed side as we start focusing more and more on 2020 is just an example of how closely we work together. I think it's really interesting from my perspective. Having before started HireClicks, I was over at Monster.com, and at Monster during the height of their reign in the marketplace. And clearly, I think Indeed's in a similar position right now with so much job search volume and so many job seekers, and really a good focused mission on helping those job seekers. But a lot of us think of sponsored jobs as the mainstay of the options, and I think what's undervalued is how thoughtful some of the additional products that they've added to the portfolio are when it comes to building employer brand and targeting candidates. So I'm sure that our team at HireClicks has helped introduce some of these solutions to you, but I think that having a little bit of a deep dive on this, a little bit of focused time on, taking a closer look at some of these solutions and truly hearing it from the horse's mouth, it will be helpful as you consider, as we all talk about considering what to do in 2020, as the market still appears to be extremely competitive. And, we're all looking for ways to strategically help make our brand stand out so we can attract the best candidates possible. So I'm looking forward to this, and I'm glad we could bring this to you. And hopefully it's the first of many HireClicks client webinars that we start doing over the next year or so. So with that, I'll pass it over to Oksana and Luke.
Awesome, and thanks for that great introduction, Neil. You hit on a few key points that I think will be recurring themes today, which is being strategic. It's no surprise that at Indeed, we're definitely numbers people that drill into the data, and we want to make informed decisions when we're looking at presenting solutions that solve real problems. And with that note, that's really what drove us to develop additional products within our portfolio outside of just specifically sponsored jobs. What we wanted to do, starting about 18 to 24 months ago, is we really wanted to get into the space and understand the full job seeker journey. traditionally, we are known for our sponsored jobs, our organic traffic products. But looking further north, you could say, or reading right to left, we have terabytes and terabytes of data on candidate behavior. What they do when they come to our site or just generally use the internet to look for employment opportunities, what affects their decision-making process, the boxes that they need to tick within their minds to actually action and convert on a job opening, accept an offer letter, stay at a company even. So with that in mind, as we began to read right to left, we developed ad units and different products within the portfolio to affect more top of funnel, build consideration for employers that potentially the job seeker wasn't considering in the first place, or maybe wasn't aware of in specific functional departments. Drive engagement. So encourage job seekers to build a relationship with specific employers, which ultimately influences their decision on where to apply and where to accept offers. So what we'll cover today, and what we will do a little bit of a deep dive on, we'll cover that top of funnel portion into the middle of funnel. We'll cover our Indeed targeted ads brand product. The ad unit will outline what that solves for, tactically, functionally, how it works. And then we'll provide some examples on clients that have had success with that ad unit today. We'll highlight company pages and ways to, for lack of a better word, spruce it up, put your best foot forward, and have a strong brand presence on Indeed, which is extremely important and becoming even more important given the size and scope of Indeed's job-seeking audience. You absolutely want to participate in that brand conversation, control the aspects of it you can control, which ultimately will influence the likelihood of a candidate to convert. We'll also discuss at the outset, just right after this, we'll discuss one of our newest and best-selling products to date. It's scaled extremely quickly. It's called Indeed Hiring Events. And the name is perfect. Its beauty is its simplicity. It solves for really running job fairs, career days, batch hiring, interviews, you name it. Hiring Events is a tool that allows companies to move extremely quickly. We take a little bit of the workload off the plate of your recruitment team and handle some of that admin work while driving higher show rates, allowing you to follow up with candidates that maybe didn't attend. And we're interested in having a conversation with you and with HireClicks, whether you're already doing this today, you're running job fairs or career days, holding batch interviews, or if you're considering it. If this is something that you haven't done in the past, we're happy to have that conversation and discuss hiring events further. So I'll jump right into it. I mentioned some of this already. What Indeed notwithstanding, there are many, many companies that are sort of returning to the face-to-face hiring event or job fair due to its efficacy. It's a faster time to hire. Traditionally, there's a lower dollar per hire if done well. You can fill roles, and candidates, and this is huge, candidates by and large report a better experience. If you've been in this business, definitely as long as Neil has, as long as Oksana or I have, you're familiar with probably the candidates at large, their number one complaint, which is, if I'm a candidate and I submit my resume, it's frustrating when you don't hear back. You feel like you're submitting your resume into, the notorious ATS black hole. You don't get to talk to anyone. You don't really know if you got a fair shake at the opportunity. Holding these events in person reverses that trend in the mind of a job seeker. We've traditionally outperformed our click-based modeling due to the fact that candidates want to meet someone. They want to talk to someone. They want to get real tactile feedback from a hiring team. Ideally, they want to get a job, but all of this comes together for a better candidate experience, which is why these hiring events have been successful outside of Indeed. And then we've further optimized this process to make it very, very easy to build on what you're doing today. Or if you're interested in, a return to this model, or you're trying it for the first time, we have the tools in place to make this a seamless process. So one of those tools right out of the gate is we will build a branded events page for your event or for your RSVPs. This is customizable to an extent, so you're able to upload your branding. You can even embed videos, and we can assist if necessary with the content. But if you have copy already built out, we can certainly use that and run with it. And this page, if you'll notice on the right-hand side, to RSVP as a candidate, you simply need to input your first name, last name, email address, and phone number. And if you notice underneath the phone number, you'll probably have to squint, but if you see that legalese writing, it's a little bit of foreshadowing as to what we do with that information. The candidate is consenting for us to remind them that the event is taking place via text. So I'll show you just what that messaging looks like. And then underneath that, you can ask candidate specific questions. If there are certain requirements, yes, no questions, you can add, I like to say up to 5. We encourage maybe 2 to 3 of some must-have requirements. And then the candidate will RSVP. And then all of that is collected and provided in reporting to the recruiting team that's on the back end at your firm that's tasked with the hiring event. So what do we do with this page? Right out of the gate, that landing page will show up in both the sponsored and organic section of our site. So job seekers that come to Indeed or end up on Indeed through running searches on search engines, they will be shown your hiring event landing page as an open interview or as a hiring day. The job seekers are made aware that this is a physical event that they'll be attending. We also use our behavioral targeting ad unit, which is called ITA Apply. Traditionally, this will be served after a job seeker has applied to similar roles. We're able to target job seekers using this ad delivery if they have relevant resume information. So for example, if you are hosting an event for specialty nurses and a specialty nurse has a resume that lines up closely with the desired attendees, we will then be able to serve this targeted ad unit, advertising your event, linking back to that branded RSVP page for the job seeker to RSVP to attend the event. Once job seekers have RSVP'd, you can think of almost enrolling them in a mini marketing campaign. So not only do they receive a confirmation, but a day prior to the event, they'll receive both an email and a text message reminding them to attend the event. And I want to highlight this because this step alone boosts attendance anywhere from about 15 to 50%, depending on the event taking place. And it removes some of that admin follow-up work from your recruiting team so that they're not having to, reach out or pick up the phone or get in touch with everyone that's RSVP'd for an event to ensure attendance. This removes that portion of heavy lifting for the team and makes sure to hit each and every single candidate that's RSVP'd. I also want to highlight that landing page we create for you, the RSVP page, you're able to share that out to any other campaigns you may be running through HireClicks or otherwise. You can circulate it internally if you'd like as a place to RSVP. We do not charge per RSVP, so any traffic that you are generating from those outside campaigns, they will also be enrolled in this reminder feature set. And we can also, just as a side note, we can report back to you your sources for candidates. So, were you to run this in a mail merge or an email campaign while also gathering RSVPs from Indeed, you can clearly delineate between those that came from Indeed and those that came from your email marketing efforts, for example.
Yeah, and Luke, if you don't mind, I'm just going to jump in on that. Like for us, that's a really big deal for, as we look at advertising, holistically for the clients and with these hiring events. In the past, we had used Eventbrite to build out those pages, and we could use all the multiple different sources. And as Indeed introduced this product, making sure that we're able to use other sources to leverage the same registration page was just a huge factor. So I think that's very important that it's not, 100% Indeed centric.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You can almost think of it as a platform or a conversion page that we will use best in show Indeed products to advertise, but you are free to use that platform or that landing page to advertise elsewhere. That's a really good way to think about it. Thanks, Neil. Great. And then, so what does it look like from your side, or your recruiters on the recruitment team? What are they going to see? They're going to receive regular update emails as the event approaches. So you will have a constant drip of, your number of RSVPs that have come in, their name, their contact information, the overall health of the event. I think it's important to note here as well that when discussing pricing or when discussing, I think most importantly, expectations on how well this solution will work for specific markets or specific roles, or even volume, Indeed will be able to provide you with an estimate of performance. And I mentioned, I guess I was bragging about our terabytes and terabytes of data. What we do is we either look at events that have been run recently in similar markets, or we will make use of historic click data to forecast out your estimated number of actual attendees. We'll usually give you a range because it's the human element. An example that I saw and lived through is we had clients who unfortunately had events that occurred during the Chicago polar vortex last year. And yeah, that did impact RSVPs. It affected the model. We were able to run subsequent events and get them the hires they needed, no problem. But we do have models to forecast out exactly the range of candidates you could expect to attend. And then we can monitor that in real time alongside you to make sure that we're pacing towards those numbers.
So while we wanted to provide you with an overview of the actual product itself, we also wanted to showcase a client case study that we actually partnered with HireClicks on for one of their large wholesale retailer clients. So just before we dig into the metrics here, I wanted to highlight how scalable this product is. So whether you have one event where you need retail associates at one store, for example, for bringing it to a retail level, we can absolutely fulfill that need. But we can also scale to a regional level, and now we also are able to scale at a national level. So this example is a regional level where one of HireClicks' clients earlier this year in May wanted to arrange a regional hiring event for 152 locations. So while we encourage, this kind of high-scale event where there's lots of branding and engagement and a lot going on in one day, we really would recommend that there be an infrastructure in place. If you have the ability to gather general managers or have a good communication with each store in the field, this is something that might be a great thing to think about and arrange in the future, because it is much easier to consolidate on one day. In this case, we had 32,550 total RSVPs, which was really outstanding. We have, as Luke said, we have an expected range of attendees. Actually, from what we expected, we ended up having more total attendees who came to these hiring events to all of these locations. From those attendees, there were 1,785 total offers. And when we break that down, it's $82.30 cost per offer. That might not be a metric you're looking for. Cost per hire certainly may be most important. We don't have that data yet to fill in here, but certainly knowing that an $82 cost per offer would really be projected down into a very solid cost per hire for the retail industry. So this was a really exciting win. Digging in a little bit deeper, the cost per RSVP, not a metric we typically look at, but interesting to break down. So basically for everyone RSVP'd, it broke down to about $4.51. 25% attendee rate, which is excellent. But what I really think is most impactful is the attendee to offer ratio was 4.5 to 1. And 96% of the openings that were available had an offer. So these are really outstanding metrics. It was, it worked really well. It was very successful for the client. We will likely do this again, and we are doing this at a different scale. But just want to show you that while you're able to satisfy a one-off need, you're also able to scale this at a higher level. And just to
Yeah, so one thing I'll just hop in here really quick. I think cost per RSVP, it is an interesting metric to look at. I think it does highlight the importance of not throwing out the RSVPs of those who end up not being able to make the event. We should probably change what we call them. Internally, we just call them no-shows. So the ones who RSVP and don't show up. With the human element, we're all human. You will always have no-shows at an event. Our goal is to cut down on that as much as possible to increase the show rate. Now, that said, you still have that entire lead list of RSVPs of people that didn't show up. And we're still monitoring with this client. We're still chasing down, as these offers turn into hires or rejections. We're still in discussions with this client to finalize that data. The other data that we'd like to finalize and make sure that they are consistent on is following up with those no-shows, because all the data set that we have indicates you can reliably re-engage a little over 20% of the candidates that didn't make it to the event. You can reliably put them back in process. Now, what do I mean when I say back in process? That could either be attending a future hiring event. So if they just couldn't make that specific date, but they could make a subsequent date 2 weeks out, they would be back in process. That means speaking to them on an individual level, or they respond to a mass outreach. And then you schedule a one-off interview, or you put them in your traditional pipeline outside of hiring events. I also want to mention that we make available as a feature the ability to do what I just mentioned. So we can partner with you on content. Clearly, we have templated messages you can use. We can partner with you all on content to send out a mass mailer or a mass follow-up to all of those attendees who were not able to make the event. Some of you may be wondering, how can we tell? How can we tell who showed up and who wasn't able to make it? How do we get this show rate? How do we identify the ones who didn't make it? We do have a very, very easy sign-in process that we can provide you and your team. It's extremely straightforward. It can be done in one of two ways. There can be literally a sign-in sheet where candidates, as they arrive, they input their phone number on an internet-ready device. That would be one method. There's a second method where we can provide you with a code that we ask you to put in a visible place at your hiring event, and we'll have the candidates actually just text that code that they've attended. You can use one of those methods, or you can use both of those methods if you'd like. And then that allows us to delineate, okay, here are the RSVPs who came, here's who did not come. And then of those that didn't come, we can message them. And then reliably, a fifth of the time, we can get them back in your process, and we can get hires out of that. I think of it as a lead list. You can get hires out of that lead list as well.
And this is definitely something that HireClicks is able to help you as a client, help you arrange that after the event follow-up and organization and tracking. That is absolutely something that they are able to help with and that they have with this client. So wanted to just point that out as well. Thank you, Lou.
Yep.
And just one quick view, a snapshot of our largest scale for hiring events is our new national landing page. If you are interested or looking into a national event, so having hiring events in all your locations or several locations on one day, Indeed has built out a landing page with a unique URL where we house all of the individual RSVP pages in one place. They used to be scattered. We used to have several different URLs, but by using this unique link, a job seeker, somebody who's looking to RSVP, can filter by state or city or job title and click right on RSVP for this location. I'm interested in attending, and they will be rerouted to that individual location page so they can RSVP, and every single, let's say, GM for a retail location would receive an updated spreadsheet of those RSVPs for their specific location. So this is certainly something new where you're also able to use in terms of branding and advertising this page. Not only can we use company pages, add this on your company page to message your followers. We'll talk about that a little bit further on. But you can also use this on any of your other sources that you're trying to advertise. If you're doing a press release about this or your Facebook page, you're able to use this unique URL to drive candidates to one page where they can then RSVP for their location. So this is really exciting and a new scalable tool that we have available for national events. I think I'm going to turn it over really quickly to Neil. I believe we have a poll for hiring events that we'd like to do.
Yep, we're just going to just launch a quick poll for folks to participate in, just to get a sense of, you know, the people on the call and whether they're actually already engaged in hiring events and to what degree they're engaged. So we'll just give it a minute or two for people to respond. And you know, I think this has been a great solution. I think what we find when people have hiring events, that the people who arrive, as Luke mentioned, they want to engage with someone, but I also think that there's a level of conversion that we see. You know, they feel like they can realistically get a job, and I think that that's really, really valuable. So it's certainly something that you know, we're excited to continue to find new and creative ways. And I think the national hiring event page that Oksana just spoke about is a huge key as well. It helps us really scale it. All right, so with that being said, we're going to close the poll, and whoops, I don't know what just happened there. Here are the results. There we go. Yeah, absolutely. So here are the results. So you know, it looks like the majority of folks are tinkering with events, you know, between 1 and 4 for the year in 2019, but some people have scaled it up quite a bit. So hopefully this is just an interesting tidbit for everybody on the call to see what their peers are up to. Just bounce it back to you guys.
Great. So as Oksana just mentioned, the branding elements on like something like a national hiring day or even on a hiring event can be absolutely pivotal in terms of attracting right fit talent or building that consideration. Getting back to that funnel though that we showed on the job seeker journey, hiring events, there are no two ways about it. It is a very, very bottom of funnel product, and it's exceptional in that regard. It converts candidates at a very high rate, as you saw with that large retail client. But moving up to the top of the funnel, now we want to discuss how you can build your employer brand on Indeed to improve some common scenarios or common challenges that you may face. And we're going to outline how that works by building up your company page on Indeed, the profile that receives quite a bit of traffic, and we'll cover that as well, but also attracting the right fit audience. So figuring out, okay, we have this content, we've created it. Who do we want to see this content? How can we engage with them? What's an appropriate call to action to get them to engage with the content we've built out, and then therefore the message that we'd like to convey? So some common scenarios that we've outlined they're what you see here. There are many, many more. I'm sure you could probably think of some more, but some common scenarios would be the desire to attract candidates for functions that your company isn't specifically known for. So let's say you have a software engineering need and you are traditionally thought of as a financial services company, or you work in retail and you have a similar need, and in your experience, you're not always, you know, your brand or your firm is not always top of mind in the mind of that desired or that targeted audience you're looking to go after. In the case of the large retail client that we just covered, I know for a fact that they have purchased these other products as well, and it was to promote the company to job seekers in a new location. Oksana used the word regional. That was exactly right. This is a large retail wholesaler that you're probably familiar with, but they're extremely familiar with in New England. Outside of New England, not as much. So their uphill battle or the challenge that they saw coming and took action on was how can we build consideration and build familiarity in these new store locations that we're opening. Also to level the playing field, increase awareness when you're competing with larger or more well-known companies, which is a challenge that I'll say candidly, Indeed faces sometimes going after some of the talent that we need to build these products we're showing you today. So, you know, how can we get on that same level? How can we showcase, and we're biased, so Oksana and I, we like working here. How can we show the great offerings and like the desirables that target audience might like or even prefer compared to, let's say, a larger tech firm? And then lastly, to build a pipeline of talent, to build that community, to increase the number of followers you have on your profile so that at a future date, you can target them with messaging relating to your hiring needs or initiatives at that point in time. And in building these products, and what really moved us to build these products is the fact that job seekers are always searching. You hear terms like passive candidates and active candidates. At Indeed, we almost like to refer to them as inbound or outbound, where you meet that candidate. But in terms of building consideration, job seekers are searching 80% of the time. 80% of job seekers in the labor force are open or actively looking for a new job. 50%, so literally half of this focus group that we commission through Focus Vision, say that they're always on the lookout, always looking for that next opportunity or interested in that next opportunity. And another data point I'd like to add on to this with our data is what we've seen is job seekers on average start looking about 6 months, even in this tight labor market. They start perusing or looking around 6 months before converting into a hire. So that is quite the runway to influence their behavior and influence their decision making, which can be effectively achieved through branding effectively on Indeed. So out of the gate, one of the largest canvases on which you can showcase your web property, showcase your content that exists are Indeed company pages. So in terms of scale, in 2018, job seekers viewed an Indeed company page to research a company more than 1.5 billion times. That's billion with a B. Our traffic on these company pages or company profiles has increased 40% year over year. That stat is actually looking to increase as we continue to optimize our SEO around queries related to employment, reviews, what is it like to work at this company? Indeed will usually return either number 1 or number 2, always page 1. So all that means at this point in time, we've amassed over 100 million, so 1.5 billion page views, 180 million total ratings and reviews on the site for job seekers to get a better understanding of what it's like to work at a specific company. Cool. So by making use of Indeed company pages, it allows you to showcase your brand with increased access and customizability for your content. You can engage with job seekers. You can build out specific sections. You can message job seekers on why your company is the right match for them. And then lastly, you can make use of back-end insights to make informed decisions on how to attract and retain that top talent. And then just in terms of benchmarking, we do get questions around this quite a bit. Indeed has 4.5 times the monthly visits that Glassdoor gets. We know Glassdoor, we like Glassdoor, it's nothing against Glassdoor, but in terms of just raw eyeballs and scale, Indeed sits at the top of the heap. So this is important to highlight. It comes as no surprise. There really are certain, this is a phrase I used earlier, but it holds true. There are certain boxes that need to get ticked in the mind of a job seeker or need to get checked before they will reliably convert. One of which is certainly reviews and kind of verifying that, hey, this is a company that treats its employees well, or this aligns with, these align with my morals or outlook and has a mission that, I resonate with. So when visiting company pages, job seekers do spend 60% of their time looking at those reviews in order to make that discernment. So with that, one of the things we'd like to highlight is you are able, if you spring for our premium company page, you're able to feature a review right at the top of your review section, page 1, position 1. And ideally, you could either do what this example client did and just stick you that 5.0 right at the top, or you can pick a review that you feel most accurately represents the brand of the firm, that you would like to be that, first impression on a job seeker that tabs over to the reviews tab. Secondly, with premium company pages, you are able to offsite, and this can get a little confusing, so I'll say it one more time. Off of the site, somebody doesn't even have to be on Indeed, but off of the site, you can send out branded company alerts to those job seekers that have elected to follow your company page. So on the company page itself, there's the option for a job seeker to follow. Once they've done so, and we're happy to discuss, and HireClicks is happy to discuss your follower count that you have today. But of those followers, these company alerts are able to be branded. You can include a message as well. So you can include, I like to think of it as a tweet, 160 characters message that gets sent out, almost like an email campaign, to each and every one of your followers on a weekly basis. And you can get very creative with that. We're happy to discuss. You could even append, let's say, a hiring event shortened URL to it if you'd like, announcing that a hiring event is taking place. So that is sort of that is an open canvas on which you can paint the picture you'd like to your follower base. Also, staying with the theme of premium features here that are off-site, actually not on Indeed, or not on the Indeed company profile, but within our search results, your job postings become branded in this 3-tab view. So instead of just having a simple job copy or job description, a job seeker is provided also with the opportunity to tab over to the Why Join Us section, which is where you can upload content, also the company snapshot, and this reliably increases conversion because they don't have to then go hunt this information down. It's all collected in one place. So you'll see a lift in conversion just by virtue of getting this content in front of job seekers. And what we see on average is by electing to be a premium company page, if you purchase premium company pages, what we reliably see is this content is seen by 6 times the number of job seekers versus just having a regular profile on the site. You can also measure ROI. You can gain insights. You can also measure, I call it like ROE, return on effort. If you have efforts or initiatives inside to improve the morale or the brand, you can compare how you're looking to job seekers to your direct competitors. And this functions on a drag and drop basis. So this is fully customizable and can be updated in real time on the back end of your company page to see how you stack up. We also provide you with the reporting tools that allow you to track visitors, see trends in followers, and understand key metrics of your brand, as well as if you, and we'll touch on this in just a bit, if you decide to promote this content on our site and run an advertising campaign around it, we can track the performance and the efficacy of that campaign as well, all from one dashboard. So how does this all come together and how does this fit into the larger picture or the larger funnel, you could say? Job seekers who visit a company page on average are 4 times as likely to apply to your jobs. So what we traditionally see is we see a lift in your CTR, your click-through rate, certainly. We'll see a lift in your apply rate, and we're able to measure that on our end using what we call like a multi-touch analysis. And directionally what we see to be true is the more interactions a job seeker has had with your brand or your branded content, the more likely they are to convert. And we have some examples on that, but directionally, this is a very powerful stat, whether you're on the employer brand team or you're a frontline recruiter, all of this comes together to make your advertising efforts more effective.
We also wanted to, in terms of tying it together with the multi-product performance and using multiple products and how that will impact your performance and overall ROI, we wanted to showcase an additional case study from a HireClicks client who is using sponsored jobs along with our company page premium that we've discussed. This is a couple of months ago data, but what we see is when we work multiple products together, so having that additional branding on that company page provided a 401% lift in the click-through rate, which is great, but does that convert? Well, yes. They also saw a 48% lift in their apply rate and a 34% decrease in their average cost per apply. So now that we have multiple products in this funnel that we're providing to employers, we're able to track the results of how they're working symbiotically to drive better ROI for our clients. And ultimately, we're having more of a middle of the funnel impact on that bottom of the funnel applicants and ultimately driving to hires. So we just wanted to share a case study that wraps that up and shows that the more products we're engaging in, thinking further than just sponsored jobs into 2020, these could be multiple angles that you can work on to drive the employer engagement, but also drive applications.
Awesome. So with that, there's so much great content that can be showcased on a premium company page for job seekers to interact with. The question then becomes, how do we get that content in front of the right audience? Or how do we get this read or interacted with or engaged with by people that we want to hire? One answer to that on the Indeed platform is Indeed Targeted Ads brand. So it is a display ad unit that uses behavioral targeting to serve customized content to a desired job seeker talent pool. And what do we use? It was brought up earlier, but what we're using is location. We're using search behavior on the site. So searches that have been run, jobs that have been applied to, jobs that have been clicked on. We're also using resume content when available. So if someone does have a resume account with us, we factor that in as well to get a good understanding of who that job seeker is, what is their experience, what is their specialty, do they have licenses or certifications that might pertain to the target audience, and then we will serve them an ad unit in line within the search results. So if you can see on the visual here, ITA brand ads now, and this could be an update for some, this could be first-time information for others, but ITA brand ad units now 100% of the time, they're going to be shown in line within search results. So as job seekers are scrolling through a search, if they have been effectively targeted or if they're satisfying the requirements from a search or a resume standpoint, we'll serve them that ad unit in line within the desktop. That ad delivery on both desktop and mobile has a 50% higher CTR than a right-hand rail ad placement, which was one of the impetuses for the change. And overall, it does vary by client and market. Overall, we tend to see click-through rates that are anywhere from 10 to 15x higher than a general display ad. So very, very high click-through rate because there's a high level of intentionality on the job seeker's part, and we're serving this to relevant audiences. So I do want to. This is what, by the way, on the right side here, this is what the ad unit looks like when delivered in mobile. As for a call to action, so where do job seekers go when they click on this ad? The short answer is we have quite a few options as to where they would go. We can link them back to a specific tab or a subsection of your company page on Indeed. So if you have, for example, specific content that's targeting military or former military, we can use that as a targeting parameter so that we're serving it to that audience, and then we can link that job seeker right back to that content on your Indeed company page. We could link them specifically to a list of jobs on your company pages as well. We mentioned it earlier, but we are very, very happy to, follow, I should mention. We can just direct the job seeker to follow, and that way they are added to the overall candidate pool that you can message with your customized alerts. And we mentioned this earlier, but we do have a national hiring event landing page. We're happy to link the ad unit to that. So if you just like to fuel those RSVPs, for that target demo, we can link there. We can link to an individual hiring events page as well as an added layer onto the sponsored jobs, ITA apply, and organic traffic you'll be receiving. So that's just another, I guess you could say, arrow in your quiver for if you'd like to run a hiring event. We now have the ability as well to link off-site. Without getting too much into the weeds, we're happy to evaluate on a one-on-one basis at any point or via HireClicks whether or not a specific landing page would be eligible, but we do have some guiding principles around this. First and foremost, we'd like it to be a mobile-friendly site. We want to make sure that the landing page corresponds, and this seems table stakes, but we have to say it. We want to make sure that the landing page relates to the ad unit that's being served. So we don't want to serve a software engineer a landing page for becoming a chef. So we have to make sure that lines up. There has to be the ability for a job seeker to navigate to an application at some point if they'd like to. At a very, very high level, what we're looking for is a quality branding experience for the job seeker. That can be a top-level careers page. It can be category-specific careers page. It could be your own landing page for a hiring event that you've created or you've worked with the vendor or HireClicks to create. That said, we will work with you to let you know thumbs up or thumbs down on each individual off-site request, and pending approval, we can add that as your call to action for your specific branding campaign. And then on the back end, of course, us being Indeed, we want to understand the performance. We want to monitor and where necessary, make refinements. We can make edits just like on any of our other products in real time. If your needs or your initiatives change on a dime, we can change on a dime with you. And I think, again, tying it together, when it comes to CPM or display advertising in general, a lot of the questions are like, what are the downstream effects here? Why should we do this? Why does this matter to me? Again, it comes down to this affects, by targeting job seekers at the top of the funnel using sophisticated targeting methods, you will see results. 55% of job seekers are more likely to apply to a sponsored job after having seen a display ad from ITA brand. 20%, so a full fifth of job seekers are more likely to search for your company by name specifically when they come to Indeed. I could talk all day long about why branded search is really the holy grail of any advertising efforts at all. But this is a great stat that shows job seekers, you're very high on the list of consideration. They want to engage and really they want to convert right away on your opportunities. So that is the horizon that I think anyone in recruitment marketing is striving for. Job seekers know who you are. They want to review your open jobs and they want to apply to you.
And to wrap this up with a case study that kind of shows all of these components working together, we basically have seen with this one large insurance company client where when a job seeker interacted with sponsored jobs, which is what Indeed's bread and butter is, but also with company pages showing branding, telling your story, and ITA brand, so using a targeted advertisement to drive a candidate to a company page or a national hiring event, et cetera. When we use these three components together that we've just talked about throughout this webinar, we have seen with this specific client a double in the apply rate. So their apply rate has doubled here while driving down the cost per apply almost by half or more. So what we're seeing again here is when we add those products together, whether it's top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, when we're using them together to reach the job seekers in different stages of their searches, we are able to impact your ROI in terms of apply rate and cost per apply and drive more applicants and engagement with your brand. So we wanted to tie it up, kind of going back to this funnel, this visual. Indeed, we are going beyond sponsored jobs in 2020, and we would love, we're partnering with HireClicks to help the clients and everyone on the call to understand where you can take your recruitment strategy next year, how you can leverage a lot of the new products that Indeed has available, because ultimately what we're interested in at Indeed and what HireClicks is interested in is what is the ROI, what is the return, and how is this driving hires to your organization. So that wraps up our webinar today, and I know that HireClicks is on to help answer any of your questions, but I think our next session here will be our FAQs.
Yeah, so we have a little bit of Q&A. Some of the folks in the audience have submitted questions. So the first one is related to hiring events. And the question is, are the branded event pages available in other languages? For example, French Canadian, to address a French Canadian audience in Montreal or other region.
Yes, so specifically to Quebec, we have some good news. It's being betaed right now. So to the client that has asked about that specifically, Neil, we can all take that offline and we can look at getting that set up. This is a good time to announce that, just for the sake of the rest of the group, hiring events today, they're only available in the US, Canada, Ireland, and the UK. So in terms of localization, I'll just lay it all pretty bare here. French Canadian or Canadian French, I should switch the order of that. That's going to be the first localized language that we're testing.
Excellent. Okay, and I apologize for saying that the wrong way as well. Next question is related to Indeed targeted ads. As you're structuring the campaigns for targeting ads, can the client dictate the keywords and search terms? Does Indeed do that? Is it a partnership? How is the targeting developed?
Oh yeah, so partnership is definitely one of our favorite words. So it is a partnership. I'll lay out really the two options that are available at your disposal today. The first is we have a long list of battle-tested verticals, so ones that work extremely well. The targeting is very sophisticated at this point. It's been fully taxonomized in what we call them norm titles, normal job titles. They've been norm titled. They work well. You could buy it right now this afternoon, and if it fits your specific needs, we're very, very confident that it will perform. Now that said, if you have needs that exist outside of those norm or norm title profiles, we are more than happy to have that conversation, and we are able to, so short answer, we're able to build out customized profiles. I will draw an asterisk on that and say, if we have the inventory. So I'm going to use a really silly example, but if you come to us and you say, hey, Oksana, hey, Luke, hey, Neil, we have needs in Sheridan, Wyoming for 20 neurosurgeons that we want to serve impressions to. One of my best friends is from Sheridan, Wyoming. I love Sheridan, Wyoming, but it does not have 10 neurosurgeons in it. So we would run an inventory estimate based on our historical data, and we would most likely come back and say, it's not really worth your time. It wouldn't be worth your money or your time to set up that advertisement. So that's where that key partnership comes in, is let's discuss, hey, are your needs something that we have a battle-tested profile built out for? Are your needs something that fall outside the purview of that? And then if so, can we build out that custom audience for you to serve that need? And if any of those scenarios exist, we can absolutely run the ads.
Okay, perfect. Another question kind of related to targeting. Can the branding and hiring events be targeted to entry-level people with specific keywords and terms? So not only just, vocational or professional profiles, but what about, experience-based profiles?
Yes, absolutely. So I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the short answer is that is absolutely possible. We can target based on years of experience, education, pretty much you name it. If it's reflected in our search data, we can use that outside of things that are just patently illegal. But yes, we can do that. Okay.
Great. Another question is related to Indeed hiring events, and what's the experience that you guys have targeting people in the social services sector?
That is a good question. Individually, social services, I know we've run over 23,000 events at this point, so we could look at historical data. Off the cuff, I can't speak authoritatively to it, but we're happy to look at the historical data and have a follow-up conversation on that performance.
And maybe that's a case where, Oksana, we can work with the client that's asking and build out like a targeting estimates, just like we would do if we're quoting a hiring event pricing, if that's okay with you.
And we did showcase, it's interesting, we showcased a few and spoke to some high volume hiring needs. And, we recommended a hiring event as a solution to that. One thing I can speak very authoritatively to is, I mentioned specialty nurse as a job title earlier. We can run a hiring event where the estimated attendees are the number 6. And if to you or as the client, 6 attendees would be fantastic and you can hire 1 or 2 of them, we run hiring events in the specialized space as well. So that tool works effectively for high volume, low skill positions. It also works well for skilled positions, given that conversation. So we would just want to look at the historical data to make sure it's worthwhile to run it and just level set on expectations. Is 6 attendees great? Is 8 attendees great, or is it not so great?
Yeah,
and I know. Good, Roxana. Sorry.
Just to say that's where the partnership is perfect here between Indeed and HireClicks. It's definitely something we can look into for any industry or any job role. What has performed in the past? What kind of response have we had in a certain location based on certain job titles? So social services we can definitely look into to whoever had asked that question, but also for any job title in any location, that is certainly something we can work with HireClicks to provide you with an estimate of attendees and cost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And just one last question we have here is related to people who registered for the event and exporting those registrations, RSVPs. Can they be automatically transferred into a CRM, say Great People, for example?
Great question. So as it exists today, we will send you the full RSVP data, including source and including after the event attendees, so like who showed up, who didn't, in a CSV format. If you would like our CS team, if there's a specific way that your CRM is able to accept CSVs, like a certain format, Oksana and I are more than willing to volunteer our CS team's time to make sure that that's in the correct format. But short answer is it's not automatic. Long answer is we can get it to you in the format that you need to batch upload.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, that's as much time as we have for questions. Just a couple items to consider in the GoToWebinar control panel. At the very bottom, there's a section called Handouts, and we've got the slides already in the handout. And HireClicks recently won a Resi for the most innovative recruitment advertising agency. There's a copy of the press release that's in there as well. So there's a couple resources in the GoToWebinar panel that you can download and take with you if you want to grab these slides or if you want to learn a little bit about what's going on at HireClicks lately. Really want to thank Luke and Oksana for taking the time to put this all together and talk with our clients and team, and we really appreciate all the support as a partner. So thank you again, guys, and thanks to all the attendees who spent their time with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.